Seriously, lean in, because this is the wildest thing I've ever done. And let me tell you, it worked. Like, really, really worked. My name's Savannah, and I'm 28 years old. Still in Phoenix, still doing my thing. So, you know my ex, Caleb, right? The one who swore up and down that I was too much and too intense and broke up with me because I didn't respect his boundaries. Which, between us, is total nonsense. I just knew what I wanted, and he was too much of a passive-aggressive burnt-out old-school provider type to handle it. He always made everything seem like my fault. "You're being dramatic, Savannah," he'd say. "It's not that serious." Ugh. Anyway, fast forward a few months, and he's got a new girlfriend. Can you believe the nerve? A new girlfriend, already. And of course, I stalked her. Not like, in a creepy way, just a casual Facebook dive, you know? Her name's Brianna, and she's, like, this perfectly sweet, innocent-looking thing. Blonde hair, big eyes, always smiling in her pictures. She works at some fancy office downtown, something about marketing or PR, I don't know. My job is just my job, it's not like I talk about it a lot. She looked like the kind of girl who bakes cookies for her neighbors and volunteers at animal shelters. Basically, everything I'm not. And she just looked so happy with Caleb. It made my blood boil. Like, seriously. I saw her picture with Caleb on his sister's Facebook. They were at some kind of fancy brunch, and she was leaning on him, looking all cozy. And I just thought, nope. Not happening. He didn't deserve to be happy with someone else, not after how he treated me. He deserved to be miserable. And if she was making him happy, then she had to go. Simple as that. I know, it sounds a little extreme, but you just don't understand how much he messed with my head. He was always talking about his growth mindset and how he was setting boundaries, but really, he was just checking out and becoming emotionally distant. And I was left picking up the pieces. So, I started casually, asking around. You know, just mentioning Caleb to mutual friends, like, "Oh, how's Caleb doing? I hear he's with someone new." And then, ever so subtly, I'd bring up Brianna. What's she like? Is she nice? All while subtly fishing for any dirt I could find. Because there's always dirt, right? Turns out, Brianna was supposedly this total goody two-shoes, super professional, never a hair out of place. Perfect attendance at work, never late, always hitting her targets. Apparently, she was on the fast track to some big promotion. And that's when the idea clicked. It was like 2 a.m. when I was staring at the ceiling, thinking about it. How could I make her lose her job? How could I hit her where it hurt, without actually hurting her physically? I wanted her to feel that sting of unexpected, unfair consequences, just like I felt when Caleb left me. He always said I was overreacting or invalidating his feelings. Well, let's see how she likes it. My first thought was something really public, like spilling coffee on her at a work event. But that's too obvious, too messy. And it wouldn't really do anything. Then I remembered something from a movie. Something about messing with someone's drink. And it was like a light bulb went off. Not anything dangerous, obviously. I'm not a psycho. Just something to make her look bad. Something to make her seem unreliable. I knew Brianna went to this one bar, the Copper Kettle, with her coworkers every Friday after work. Caleb mentioned it once, a long time ago, when we were still together. Said it was their team bonding spot. Ugh. So, I figured, that's my window. I needed to get in there, unnoticed, and do my thing. The next Friday, I put on my best "I'm just here for a casual drink, minding my own business" outfit. Nothing too flashy, nothing too memorable. Just a simple top and jeans. I got to the Copper Kettle a little before their usual time, found a spot at the bar, and ordered a glass of wine. I kept my eyes peeled, pretending to scroll through my phone, but really, I was watching the door like a hawk. And then they walked in. Brianna, Caleb, of course he was there, making me want to throw my wine glass at the wall, and a couple of her coworkers. Caleb looked a little awkward seeing me there, but I just gave him a small, polite nod, like we were total strangers. Brianna, though, she looked right through me. Didn't even acknowledge my existence. Which, between us, made me mentally label her a total bitch. Like, who does she think she is? The Queen of Phoenix? They settled at a table nearby, and I could hear bits and pieces of their conversation. All work stuff, all boring. Brianna was talking about some big presentation she had next week, something about optimizing client engagement and leveraging market trends. Blah blah blah. Typical corporate nonsense. But I gathered that this presentation was a huge deal for her. A real make-or-break moment for her promotion. Perfect. I watched her order her drink, a sparkling water with lime. How boring can you get? Mine was a double gin and tonic, because, hello, nerves. I waited. And waited. For the right moment. Caleb went to the bathroom. One of her coworkers got up to go to the bar. Her other coworker was totally engrossed in her phone. And Brianna, bless her heart, left her sparkling water sitting there, unattended. It was like the universe was handing it to me on a silver platter. I had come prepared. In my purse, I had a tiny little bottle of something I'd gotten from a sketchy online store. Something that was supposed to make you feel woozy. Not, like, pass out woozy, but disoriented. Forgetful. A little out of it. Enough to mess up a big presentation, but not enough to cause serious harm. I'd researched it, obviously. I'm not an idiot. I just wanted to make her look incompetent. My heart was pounding, but I kept my face totally neutral. I just walked past their table, as if I was going to the restroom. And in that split second, quick as a flash, I uncapped the tiny bottle, squeezed a few drops into her sparkling water, and kept walking. Smooth as butter. Nobody even looked up. I went into the bathroom, splashing water on my face, trying to calm down. Did it really just happen? Oh, it happened. I went back to my spot at the bar, ordered another drink, and watched. Brianna came back to the table, took a big gulp of her drink. Nothing happened right away. I started to wonder if it even worked. Maybe I didn't put enough in? Or maybe it was fake stuff from the internet? My panic thoughts were starting to jump in. Did I just do all that for nothing? But then, about 20 minutes later, I noticed a subtle change. She started blinking a lot. Her conversation seemed to lose focus. She'd trail off mid-sentence. Her coworkers looked at her funny a few times. Caleb, the oblivious old-school provider he is, didn't seem to notice anything. He was just rambling about his new hobby, which, between us, was collecting vintage comic books. So riveting. Brianna started giggling at inappropriate times. She knocked over a glass of water. She was definitely off. My heart did a little victory dance. It was working. It was actually working. I left the bar shortly after, before anyone could notice me observing them too closely. I just wanted to get out of there, ride the high of my success. The next few days were torture. I kept checking her Facebook, her LinkedIn, anything to see if there was any news. Nothing. Silence. I even considered making a fake email account and sending an anonymous tip to her work, but that felt too risky. I wanted this to be a natural cosmic justice kind of thing. Then, about a week later, I saw something. A quick, throwaway comment on Caleb's sister's Facebook post. Something like, "Poor Brianna, I can't believe she got fired." Fired? My jaw almost hit the floor. It worked. It actually worked. I rushed to Brianna's LinkedIn profile. And there it was. Her job title was gone. Instead, it said, previously at, company name. No explanation. No reason. Just gone. I wanted to scream. I wanted to jump up and down. I wanted to call you right then and there, but it was like 2 a.m., and even I have some boundaries. But it was so incredibly satisfying. She had no idea why she lost her job. No idea at all. And it was all because of me. I pictured her at her big presentation. Probably stumbling over her words, forgetting key points, looking completely spaced out. Her boss, the big important boss, probably watching her, shaking his head. And then, the meeting ending, and her getting called into an office, getting the axe. All because of a few drops in a sparkling water. It was genius. Of course, I kept my distance from Caleb. I didn't want him to suspect anything. When I ran into him at the grocery store a few days later, he looked completely burned out. Exhausted. He had that checked-out look, like he was just tired and disengaged from everything. He saw me, and he just gave me a weak wave. I gave him a little sympathetic look back, like, "Oh, poor Caleb, you look so sad." But inside, I was practically cackling. He came over to my apartment a few days later, unexpectedly. He said he just needed to talk. I played it cool. "Oh, Caleb, what a surprise. Come in." He looked like he hadn't slept in days. He slumped onto my couch, and then he just started talking. About Brianna. How she had lost her job. How she was completely devastated. How she couldn't understand what happened. How her whole life was falling apart. And I just sat there, listening, pretending to be concerned. "Oh, Caleb, that's awful. What happened?" I even offered him a tissue, like the good friend I was. He said she'd been acting strangely for a few days before her presentation, really forgetful, having trouble concentrating. She was acting so weird at the bar the other night, he said, rubbing his temples. Like she was totally out of it. She even knocked over a glass. I just thought she was tired, but then the next day, she couldn't even remember half of what we talked about. He was basically describing the exact effects of what I put in her drink. And he had no idea. Zero. It was glorious. I just nodded, playing dumb. Wow, that's so strange. Maybe she was coming down with something? I was a total gaslighting expert. Making him question his perceptions, his memory. He just sighed. "I don't know, Savannah. I just don't know." He was so defeated. It was everything I wanted. Things with Caleb became weird again. He was constantly calling me, just to talk. About Brianna, about his problems, about how stressed he was. I guess he had no one else to talk to. His old school provider vibe had completely crumbled. He was completely insecure, overcorrecting for whatever he thought he did wrong. It was pathetic, honestly. And I loved it. I would listen, offer vague platitudes, and then subtly shift the conversation back to myself. "Oh, that's tough, Caleb. You know, I've been feeling really stressed lately too, with my job and all." He'd immediately switch gears and start focusing on me. He was so easy to manipulate. I started hinting that maybe we should get back together. "You know, Caleb, we always had such a good connection. We just had our ups and downs, like all couples." He'd get this conflicted look on his face. He was clearly still hung up on Brianna, but he was also desperate for comfort, for someone to lean on. And I was right there, offering it up, even though I had no intention of actually getting back with him. I was just using him. Again. I started posting more on Facebook about how single life was tough, but how I was focusing on myself. All validation-seeking stuff. And then, subtly, I'd throw in a post about reconnecting with old friends. And then, a picture of Caleb and me, just a casual one, like we were just hanging out. He'd probably been so desperate for attention that he didn't even think about what I was doing. His friends would comment, "Oh, you two are back together?" And I'd just reply, "We're just friends," with a winky face. It drove Brianna's few remaining friends wild, I'm sure. He kept talking about how bad he felt for Brianna, how she was struggling financially now. "She can't even pay her rent, Savannah. She lost everything." I just nodded, pretending to care. My inner monologue was a total shade session. Good. That's what you get for dating my ex. That's what you get for thinking you could just waltz in and take my place. I used weaponized vulnerability with Caleb. Whenever he'd try to talk about anything serious, anything that made me uncomfortable, I'd bring up some personal trauma from my past. Oh, I can't talk about that, Caleb. It just brings back too many memories of when my parents, you know. And he'd immediately shut down, all apologetic. Oh, I'm so sorry, Chels. I didn't mean to upset you. Works every time. He never addressed the real issues, and I never had to take accountability. I even got him to lend me some money. Just a little. Oh, my car payment is due, and my job cut my hours, I don't know what I'm going to do. Total lie. My job was fine. But he immediately offered. Don't worry, Savannah, I'll help you out. And he did. He just handed me the money. No questions asked. And I never paid him back. Obviously. Why would I? He owed me. For everything. I thought I was on top of the world. I had destroyed Brianna's life, financially and professionally. I had Caleb wrapped around my finger, back to being my emotional support animal. It was all going according to plan. I was unstoppable. Then, things started to go sideways. Not in a big, dramatic way, at first. Just little things. My boss, the vague one from my vague job, started acting weird. He wasn't giving me the good projects anymore. He was always looking at me with this strange expression, like he knew something. I tried to ask him about it, but he just said, everything's fine, Savannah. Just a lot on my plate. Which, between us, was total BS. Then, the rumors started. Little whispers in the office. I'd walk past a group of coworkers, and they'd suddenly go silent. I'd hear my name, and then hushed tones. It was like I was in high school all over again. I demanded transparency, of course. What are people saying about me? I deserved to know. But no one would tell me anything. Just vague, unhelpful answers. They were all such bitches. And then, the big one. I got called into my boss's office. Not Mr. Davies this time, but a different boss, a higher up. He was really serious. Savannah, he said, we've had some concerns brought to our attention regarding your conduct. We've investigated thoroughly, and we've uncovered some disturbing information. My heart started to pound. What information? What could they possibly know? I played dumb. I don't understand. What are you talking about? He looked me straight in the eye. We have received a sworn statement from a former employee, Brianna Hayes, detailing an incident at a bar on date of incident. She claims you intentionally tampered with her drink, causing her to be incapacitated during a crucial work presentation, which directly led to her termination. My blood ran cold. How? How did she know? How did they find out? I stammered, that's insane. She's lying. I don't even know her. He just shook his head. We have surveillance footage from the bar, Savannah. Your actions were clearly captured. And we have corroborating testimony from other employees who witnessed your presence and your behavior that night. We also have a detailed medical report from Ms. Hayes, outlining the effects of the substance found in her system, which perfectly matches the symptoms she experienced. It was over. Everything. They knew. They had proof. I tried to argue, to deny, to gaslight, but it was useless. They had everything. Effective immediately, he said, your employment here is terminated. And just like that, my professional destruction was complete. I was blacklisted. Not just from that company, but from everywhere. The news traveled fast in the industry. No one would even consider hiring me. My career, everything I had built, it was all gone. But it wasn't just that. My social life collapsed completely. Caleb, the burnt-out passive-aggressive who was hanging on my every word, suddenly disappeared. He changed his number. Blocked me on everything. I called his sister, and she screamed at me. "You're a monster, Savannah. What you did to Brianna, and then you tried to get back with Caleb? You're disgusting." Even the few remaining friends I had, the ones who always took my side, cut me off. "I can't believe you did that, Savannah," one of them texted me. "That's just evil." I was completely isolated. No job, no friends, no one. I had achieved my selfish goals of ruining Brianna's life, but in doing so, I had completely destroyed my own. I was homeless eventually. My rent was due, and without a job, I couldn't pay. My landlord served me an eviction notice. I ended up having to move back in with my parents, again. The ultimate isolation. I was living the same treatment I inflicted on Brianna, amplified and inescapable. I had tried to make her feel like she had lost everything, and now, I had lost everything. I heard through the grapevine that Brianna had sued the bar for lack of security, and that the bar had then implicated me. I heard she got a huge settlement. And that she used that money to start her own business, something in the same field, but for herself. And she was thriving. She was successful. She was happy. She had risen from the ashes, stronger than ever. And I was stuck in my parents' basement, scrolling through old Facebook pictures, seething. Do I regret what I did? No. I don't regret spiking her drink. I regret that I got caught. I regret that the camera was there. I regret that Caleb was a weak little rat who probably told on me. I regret that my life is a disaster now. But her? She deserved it. She shouldn't have been with Caleb. And Caleb? He was too nice. He should have known I was playing him. It's not my fault they were so stupid. It's not my fault people are so easily fooled. I don't care anymore. Not about her, not about him, not about anyone who isn't on my side. They all think they're so much better than me. But I'm still here. I'm still me. And I'm still not taking accountability for anything. It's always someone else's fault. It always is.